This woman went from being stuck in the New York restaurant loop, serving cocktails to pay rent, to landing brand deals from her living room in Colorado in just 3 months.
I was working as a full-time server at a cocktail bar. You kind of get stuck. It's fast, easy money. That quick validation is super easy to get lost in.
She had no social media following, no marketing experience, and she'd never even made a single video before. And the first one she filmed, she said she hated them and she found them cringe, every single one of them.
I did make about 5 examples in my apartment with stuff around It's kind of funny. I look back at those videos now and I hate them all.
But after going all in for 90 days, brands started coming to her, emailing her things like, "You caught me at the perfect time."
Literally, their reply to me said, "Hi Miranda, thanks for reaching out. You literally caught me at the perfect time. We're looking for creators."
She's now pulling in close to $2,000 a month in paid deals and just got gifted a $4,000 and she already has repeat clients asking for more content.
I am sitting at like $1,850. Might not be the hugest number, but it feels like I've come a very long way. About a week later, they turned around and asked if I'd like to work on another project, which was super cool.
And the wild part of this all is that half her deals came from one simple habit that most creators completely ignore. And she almost quit before she even started it.
Half of my deals came from emails that said they saw me on Instagram.
So in this video, she breaks down everything from how she went from 0 to landing 5 brand deals in 3 months and the daily system that attracts brands to her inbox.
I have started off nicheless. I actually think that's been really important for me to figure out what type of content I like producing best.
And she goes through the exact moment everything finally clicked for her.
The time had passed, right? 3 months had passed and I hadn't taken it seriously. You could either change your life or you could stay the same.
I'm Gloria Stonelake and this is UGC World, and welcome Miranda. Hey Miranda.
Hi Gloria.
Hi, welcome. I'm so glad we're on a podcast together today. Really, today we're going to be talking about your story, digging in more in depth about your journey through UGC, because over the past 3 months, you've had a crazy freaking journey. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your name, where you're from, and how long you've been doing UGC for.
My name's Miranda. I'm originally from Florida, currently living in Colorado, so quite a difference in the climate there. Although we've had quite a milder season this winter, I've been told. But anyway, I originally came by UGC last June is when I first discovered what it is. I was in the process of moving soon at the time. I was living in New York, and so I was just kind of absorbing little bits of information on it here and there. And then it wasn't until November, and that's, around the time I found you, that I decided to go all in and really give it my all with starting a UGC business. So yeah, I've been going at it full time for about 3 months now. And yeah, that's where we are today.
How did you first discover UGC in general?
I think it was one of those things that came up on my Instagram algorithm of a carousel of someone saying one of the best side hustles of 2025, all you need is your phone. And, kind of those posts that give you very short snippets of what UGC is without really getting into any, nitty gritty of what it actually entails. I think a lot of people do get into this thinking that they're going to be making they're going to change their life overnight. And, I know people do find success with it really quickly, but there's a lot more that goes into it than the shiny little carousel posts you see. But that is definitely how I came across at first.
We'll definitely dive into that, what the real side of UGC looks like. Definitely. I know you had quite a journey yourself. But for you, Miranda, where were you before you started UGC? What were you doing before this? Were you working a regular job? What did that look like?
So yeah, I was living in New York and I was working as a full-time server at a cocktail bar and then also freelance writing on the side. If you've lived in New York, you kind of get stuck, or it's easy to get stuck in I need to make money to pay my bills because it's a very expensive city. And so I felt I moved there originally to get into book publishing, and then I decided to pivot, but I got kind of stuck just in the restaurant industry, which is really easy to happen if you've ever worked a restaurant job. It's fast, easy money. That quick validation is super easy to get lost in,
Yeah.
unless you want to go into hospitality, there's no upward movement, there's no growth. And so then I ended up moving to Colorado. My boyfriend and I finally decided to move in together and start like a new adventure, completely different state, new adventure for both of us. But I've been given the space to like finally put my all into something and grow and start a business, which, you know, I'm super grateful I've had the time and the freedom to do that. Not everybody does. But so I kind of came from everyone comes from a different, finds this in such a different way. I've been lucky enough to like be able to do this full time.
Wow, that's very inspiring. So you came from the restaurant industry, you're kind of stuck in that loop, and then you found UGC and you're like, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for you, like, why not any other business model? Why UGC for you?
Well, originally I really liked the scripting aspect of it. I come from a writing background. I got my master's in creative writing. It's something I'm really proud of. I have definitely like big writing aspirations, but I liked the idea of combining that writing training that I've gotten with essentially making ads for brands. I liked that it was kind of a combination of both. Obviously, when you get into this, you learn that a lot of times briefs or scripts will come your way and they just want you to read them. So, you know, you're not always scripting and stuff, but I don't know. I liked the freedom of like, there's a lot of collaboration and brainstorming that comes with UGC. And a lot of the jobs I've held in the past are from a collaborative standpoint. I was also an editor for different things. I edited fiction, like novels at one point. And so I feel like I've always had this like passion to like do stuff that involves a lot of collaboration. And UGC felt like it ticked a lot of those boxes.
So you have some sort of a creative background, and you wanted to kind of propel that into something that was proven, but something that could help you along the way to just build a business, if that's right.
Yeah, something that like I could do on, you know, work for myself. That's the goal.
So how long have you been in the UGC industry, like total?
From the time I discovered it, I guess 6 months. But I honestly, I don't like to count that because I feel like there was a lot of time in there where I wasn't taking it seriously. And I think it's more important to like start to count from when I like actually started taking it seriously, because that's the difference, right? Like when you do start taking it seriously is when you start to see those efforts, I think, compound. And so if I'm counting from since I discovered it, 6 months. If I'm counting since I went all in, or I like, you know, looked at it as more than just like a cute little side hustle, 3.5 months.
Wow. So 3.5 months. And you grew a ton, and we'll talk about your growth as well. Super inspiring. But at the beginning, to catch everybody up, at the beginning, a lot of UGC creators, they see like social media, right? And you mentioned earlier, hey, it's not as cute as it seems. And UGC is promoted on social media as like those pretty TikToks and Instagram reels. And a lot of creators like to give it a try after that. But what were your first attempts like when it comes down to like creating UGC and getting started? Like officially, once you started?
Oh, once I started? Okay. Well, I will say, like, when I first discovered it, I did, like, back in June, I did make about 5 examples in my apartment with stuff around my, like, products that I really liked, and, you know, which is the advice you'll get as a beginner. And it's kind of funny. I look back at those videos now and, like, I hate them all. But sorry, I think I lost the question as I started answering.
No, more so, like, what is, like, your strategy around that? Like back then when you first started, the videos that you said you hate now, like what was your strategy back then? How were you approaching Brant back in June?
Okay. Yeah, so very little strategy, I would say, if I'm being honest. But I kind of think that that's normal in the beginning and maybe almost necessary, especially if you're not used to like taking your phone and speaking in front of it. It's going to be weird at first. You're going to sound a little robotic. You're going to think you sound silly, but like doing those initial videos, like is like such an important part to it, especially when you get to look back on how your delivery's changed and the way you talk and the way you talk about a product has changed, learning, like buyer psychology and all that stuff. But yeah, in the beginning, I think it was like really important for me to just like get myself in front of the camera and just do it, to figure out like what not to do, essentially.
Yeah. And even more so, even for beginner creators, yes, it's a little bit difficult to get on camera for the first time, definitely. But also more so about your strategy with landing collabs. What did that look like? Where did that kind of bring you?
Okay. Yeah. So in the beginning, like for example, the example videos I made, all of those I actually pitched. Well, I emailed all of those example videos, those brands. Crickets, nothing. I mean, I didn't have a portfolio yet, which I'm sure was a huge factor. But there was no like strategy, no structure to like who I was pitching to, how I was pitching, where it was going. And over time, I think I think it's kind of important. I mentioned this to you, I think, earlier, but I think it's kind of important to try a few different things, whether that's like different systems, or, a couple different UGC platforms. It is super overwhelming in the beginning because you'll hear a lot of different advice. Oh, sign up on Incense, sign up on Coley, sign up on Backstage. And it's good to take that advice, but I think like you need to try a few different ones to see what works with you, and get a better sense of what you'll stick to. Because if you don't like it, if you don't like doing it, you're not going to stick with it. So I think it was really important to like kind of have that trial and error of like different creator platforms I want to be on, because it's simply like I like the way they structure like applying to their briefs or whatever it is. But I think it's really important you find what you like, what you can get into flow with, because that's going to be the thing that makes or breaks your business in the beginning.
So you have to find the right system for you to land collabs. Otherwise,
yes. And it's so bespoke, I think, to each creator.
Wow.
So I think it's like really valuable to like spend even maybe more time than you thought. Like I feel like I got stuck in this too, but when I first started, I want to do everything I learn like all at once. I want to implement everything all at once, and that's just not realistic. And
yeah,
I think that it's important to spend maybe a little bit more time than you thought you would on deciding what's right for you.
Yeah, totally. Because every creator has a different avatar, and your different avatar is going to attract different brands and different platforms and different methods with different methods, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not a one size fits all. It's a, hey, here's the system, and put the system in place in a direction that makes sense for you. So even like you mentioned, Miranda, you were slow for 3 months. You've been in it for 6 months, slow for 3 months, and then the past 3 months have been pretty decently fast, it sounds like. So mm-hmm. You were slow for 3 months. What finally made you realize like you needed to change your approach to UGC, and you were looking for that support maybe, or looking for something to help you lock in?
Yeah. Well, I think what finally changed is like, realizing it's that same thing we all see, I think, online. Like it was realizing that the time had passed, right? 3 months had passed and I hadn't taken it seriously. Nothing had really changed. And it was that kind of idea of like, well, the time's going to pass anyway. So you could either change your life or you could stay the same. And I think I just finally got too uncomfortable with remaining comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So time was passing and you realized, hey, nothing's changing about your business.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you find out about me? Like, did you recall any like specific pieces of content that you read from mine where you thought, okay, that makes sense, that's a new perspective I should try out, or anything like that? Or how did we kind of get connected?
So I actually did get connected to you through Dave, who is a coach within the academy. Yeah. I found him on Reddit, I believe, when I was still in that like kind of absorbing what UGC is phase. Yeah. And then like was integrated into UGC world. And I think right before then, I was like starting to get on Reddit more, and I saw you I don't remember what your handle was exactly, but I saw you commenting on things on Reddit. Um, and then it kind of made the connection when I saw like Gloria within the UGC world.
Okay. And how, I guess, what was that one thing, maybe from me or Coach Dave, who's inside UGC World, UGC Academy, what was that first thing that you learned that made you go like, oh my gosh, I've been doing maybe UGC all wrong. That's why it's been so slow for the past 3 months.
I think, I don't really recall if it was like one thing specifically, but just on the topic, I will say, like, I remember seeing videos of like your, transparency of like coming from working at Walmart and making, shit money. And I think you'd included even clips of like your skin at the time and just really like raw, a lot of transparency, and to like how you were able to completely change that. And I think that really identified with me of like, well, I can take control of it too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people like really, what really like draws them to something like this is seeing like how you have total, what's the word I'm looking for? Not just control, agency is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Over like completely reversing your situation. It's up to you. You have nothing to lose. And if it's like an embarrassment thing, that'll pass.
Yeah, definitely. Explain that shift for people who might be like where you were, or even where I was, where I mean, my story definitely came from a place where I was making dirt. And you came from a place where you wanted to escape that loop of working at a restaurant and, that restaurant loop you're talking about. So explain that shift of like a mindset you had to go through from working at a restaurant to taking that step and building that business.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know if it was one like specific thing. I don't think it ever is. I think you like a lot of times with this stuff, you just hit a wall where you like something, it's a bunch of things that finally just click, right? And for me, I think it was the fact that like when I moved last August to Colorado, I looked at the previous 2 years of my life, which those 2 years were spent in New York, and I went there for a specific purpose. And although like I wouldn't trade it, I wouldn't do anything differently. I did have a little bit like, I didn't go there and do what I wanted or do what I thought I would. And I'm no further in like my own business now than I was 2 years ago. So I looked at Colorado as this like kind of blank slate almost, and kind of like do I want to be in the same spot in another 2 years? I don't.
Yeah.
So let me finally do the hard thing and go through the growing pains of like starting a business, because they're necessary. The growing pains are necessary.
Wow. And we'll dive into that a little bit more, the growing pains and even the systems that you set up inside your business to actually find success with UGC. Because I know you had that trial and error point as well, which every creator does go through, definitely. But your story was very inspiring. But first of all, for the brands watching this or the creators curious about your brand partnerships, I would like to ask you, like, what would you say to brand owners who are watching this podcast right now? How would you describe your service, your specialty, your niche, and why brands like would choose you overall as a creator after all of these months?
Yeah. So I have started off nicheless. I actually think that's been really important for me to figure out like what type of content I like producing best. Because I think, again, to go back to kind of what I was saying earlier, the things you like, you're going to be the best at. It just makes sense. Or you'll have more, there'll be more passion behind it. There'll be more passion behind the messaging, which is super important for brands. So I've been nicheless, but as I've started to make, more deals, I think I've realized I really like the lifestyle and home niche. And I would say that I really excel at the storytelling aspect of it, and coming from either an educational, emotional, or entertaining point of view or perspective. And that one of my strengths is like really being able to zone in on who I'm talking to, and then being able to pull like my own personal anecdote out of that. One thing I've learned, I think, that is most important with UGC and personal branding is that like you're the prize, you know, the creator. That's what brands are looking for, is like the person. I think I've learned, you know, we can all learn how to make an UGC ad, but like what sets you apart is your personality, being your authentic self. And so I feel like one of my strengths is like being able to find the story in the product or whatever it is that I'm talking about.
Yeah, because when you have that authenticity and passion towards like a brand, a niche, a product, it just comes so natural. UGC, point of it is to be natural, and it just comes so natural. And it seems like you've doubled down on that over time, and brands saw that. So if you can publicly state, what brands have you worked with so far?
So I've worked with a skincare company called Nita. And what was exciting is I think I told you, but I recently delivered the content to them, and then about a week later they turned around and asked if I'd like to work on another project,
Wow.
which was super cool. I mean, I definitely, you know, positioned that I'd love to work with them again, but I wasn't expecting that to happen so soon. So that was pretty cool. I've also have worked with Barkeeper's Friend, which is a cleaning supply, like a household cleaning supply, or I'm sure restaurants even use it. And then I worked with a productivity app recently called Skill Dose, which was really fun. I want to do more, I think, like apps and productivity, just because like I've been loving obviously working on my own productivity, and I have a lot of personal and anecdotal things that I feel like I could use and incorporate into UGC videos. So that's definitely a direction I'd like to go. And then I recently just did a deal with a shower head, and then another one was like an organizational tool. It was like a binder. So it's kind of all running the gamut here. But you know, I'm learning what I'm, I think, better at, or what I enjoy, and that for me has been like an essential part to all this.
Definitely. It's very cool because it sounds like you're getting paid to learn, which is very, very
Right,
cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I just want to say, like, speaking on that before, in case I forget to mention this, because I was thinking about it earlier, on the learning aspect, you will learn a lot along the way, especially when you start building on those social accounts and start following and communicating with other creators, or joining an academy like this one. You're going to be like learning information constantly. And I think it's so important to learn all that information, of course, right? But I also think it's very easy to get stuck in just learning and just researching and not implementing. So there have been days, especially more so in the beginning, where I've had to really like look at my output, my daily output, and like just post stuff. Just, you know, make sure your output is lining up with everything you're learning. Learn it, absorb it, but implement it.
Definitely. And that's very important because you were at a point in your career, UGC career, where everything was like very dry your first 3 months, and then your last 3 months was freaking busy. So what systems and what strategies did you learn that you implemented to get that output that you're looking for?
Yeah. Well, it was a couple, like, you know, trial and error things. I would say I did Lemlist for a little bit. I did get, or I think I told you, but through like LinkedIn Sales Navigator and connecting that is how I got one of those deals.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that did pay off. And I would urge anybody who has never done like a mass pitching to definitely look into that one. everyone's probably heard of On Bento, but that's another one I've been using. I think it took me a long time to get and build the habit of like daily pitching and holding that accountable. And it's tricky. It's tricky because I think I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and so I get a little bit bogged down in trying to make each one very unique to the brand, but also not too long. But I think it's kind of important to like plug and play with those pitches, see what gets even like the most reply, even if it doesn't lead to a deal, see what gets like at least a warm lead. Was it shorter? Was it longer? I think a lot of it is trial and error, but I think that part of it is important because then you're able to like better understand, I think, how to communicate to brands in the future. And then you'll be able to, I think, skip a few steps and like, lead right to like a potential client or sale.
Yeah, for sure. And pitching is super, super important when it comes to actually landing qualified brands and brands that actually will pay you like you received to make content. So for you, what did that gap look like from where you started with UGC the first 3 months with like maybe little to no pitching? What is that number for beginners that are watching this compared to the amount of pitches that you're sending now? What does that difference look like in pitches and also in mindset around pitching?
Like how many was I sending before versus now?
Yeah.
Well, I think it increased like 100%, if I'm honest. It's still really difficult to get like that specific number out, but I'm trying to do anywhere between like 15 to 20 a day. Ideally, I'd like to increase it. Again, like I come from a writing background and my writing has been rejected so much, which is a huge part of it, but it gets accepted because you've sent it to enough places. Same principle applies here. You get someone that, maybe you just reached. Actually, today, I got an email. This was actually from a pitch that I think was automated on Bento. But literally their reply to me said, "Hi, Miranda, thanks for reaching out. You literally caught me at the perfect time. We're looking for creators." So like,
Wow.
yeah. And that I'd never gotten that before, but that just goes to show like everyone's schedule in a company is so different. A lot of them will tell you like, check back with us this summer. I've gotten that a few times. But just to go back to like your question, shit, I'm so sorry. I forgot the question.
More so about, I think you answered it definitely
Okay.
more, and I know it's late on your end, but more so about like the pitching numbers and everything like that. But you said 15 to 20 a day, which is a pretty steady amount. Most creators actually don't even hit that a day because they don't have that consistency. So in consistency, what is consistency is a system that happens every single day. So we know one system. You had the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, that's a system, but what other systems have you implemented mentally or in your business with apps and platforms and different systems to generate more collabs and more payments from these brands?
Right. So one of the things I kind of fell off in the new year, but I think one of the things that really ramped me up from November through the end of the year was that challenge I did that you had us do of like posting one thing every day. And it feels a little silly at first, especially if you're not used to doing that. But like, man, I really think that was like half of my deals came from emails that said they saw me on Instagram.
Wow.
And so that's actually something I'm really need to like lock in and get back to because ideally that's what we want in the future, right? We just want inbounds. I think like it's still going to be important to like pitch here and there, but one of my systems that I'm doing is like making sure I'm consistently posting. It's really good, I think, to do one a day, but if you can't do that, if that's way more than you can like bite off, I would recommend at least maybe like 3 a week. But I'm also making sure I post at least one thing, whether it's text or video on X. I've had a couple people say they found me on there too. Again, like whether that leads to a deal or not is different. Sometimes brands will be like, oh, we ended up going in a different direction. But like the fact that they're seeing stuff that you're posting has been so validating. So like making sure I'm posting on platforms has become a part of my system for sure.
For sure. A lot of creators have that mindset, kind of similar to yours at the beginning, where they didn't see the value in posting content over and over again. And I know it's a hurdle, definitely a tough mental hurdle sometimes when you haven't posted content before, and then you're throwing yourself out there on a platform like Instagram for the first time. Like that, it can be a little bit scary. So what would you tell people that are newer to UGC and content creation about posting? How would you encourage them, and how would you describe the payoff to them around posting, the skills that you've developed and the brands that you'll attract?
Yeah. Well, first off, I would say just do it and don't overthink. And I know that's easier said than done, but this is coming from like a textbook overthinker. So if I can do it, you can do it. And then once you start doing it, it's like anything. It becomes a lot easier, and you realize nothing bad came from it. Like, what did you think was going to happen? If it's that, you're worried about what someone's going to say behind your back, well, you can't control that, and it shouldn't really matter anyway. I would also say that I've been learning just how important it is to figuring out what kind of creator you want to be or what you want to talk about. I've learned too that your content, it doesn't always have to be about UGC. And it should actually also be you should post UGC examples for sure. That way brands can see the way that you speak on camera and your capability of doing UGC. But pick things that you could yap about for 30 minutes, pick obsessions, things you're passionate about, and make content around that, because that's going to be the stuff that really makes your personality shine. And again, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at making UGC videos, because you're making videos. So it kind of all feeds, into itself.
Definitely. And the more that you create videos, the better your skill set is with UGC, right? Like you said. And that's where the brands come in. A lot of creators come in and they don't realize how many brands are watching them.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. And a lot of your brands come from your Instagram. Your brand collabs came from your Instagram, and you saw firsthand, like you said, how many brands actually come from that consistency, the skill set of just being consistent and being yourself. Brands are super attracted to that. And you did it right. You don't need to have the perfect content. You don't need to have 1 million followers. You don't need a bunch of these things. What you need is consistency. What you need is authenticity. That's it.
Right. The right people will find you is kind of what I've been learning. Don't try to chase a trend. Don't chase in general. I think we all know that. Yeah. That doesn't attract the right things in your life. But yeah, the right people will find you. The people you want and who will actually engage with your content will find you. So I've also learned in the beginning, don't get discouraged with all the fake messages you're going to get of these scam collabs. I mean, and I still get them, but in the beginning, it really discouraged me. It made me feel like all this is pointless, but you become a little desensitized to that. And it's just one of those things you realize is going to happen, because the internet is a wonderful place, but also a terrible place.
Yeah, for sure. It's unfortunately in this day and age in 2026, we're running into scams everywhere. But I think also on the flip side, I don't know if you realize this, but I saw your journey firsthand, and I think that those scams also helped you, right, to push even harder into not chase, but maybe even attract through the hard work that you were putting in. So I think they're a little bit of a motivator as well. I look at them with abundance even. Yeah. And then also UGC on TikTok more so is portrayed as this make 10K month in a month. Right. Boss babe, overhyped side hustle essentially. Right. And receive a bunch of your free makeup, favorite makeup for free. or favorite skincare or like a bunch of that stuff. But obviously, like you're learning from real business owners. So how do you feel your mindset has changed during this process?
Well, first, I actually, to be completely on, I want to be completely transparent. I think it humbled me a little bit.
Wow.
Like, I think that I fed into that. Like, I don't want to say get rich quick because I by no means thought any of this was easy.
Yeah.
Like from the first video I made, I realized how much more actually goes into it. But, you know, as you get deeper and deeper, I think it did humble me in that, like, okay, like this is not a 10K in a month thing. And nor should it be, because if you want to be good at it, I think it's going to be harder, and rightly so. Like, you know, everyone always says like good things take a lot of time, take a lot of effort, and this is one of them.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, making 10K in your first month, like as a brand new creator, like don't expect that. That's going to discourage you. But yes, it is possible, but it's going to be that trial and error and the hard work to go into it. That's just how a business works. So the fact that you came in with that mindset, but you did get a little bit humbled, just is healthy, I feel like, to go through those trials and tribulations around business. But overall, like you came out stronger and you came out with wins and you came out with success over, even during the times it didn't seem like it, even during the times it felt like the world was against you, right? And for you, how did it feel like to land your first paid brand deal?
I mean, it felt really good, but I'll be honest, I was like, me? Like, I felt like I was being punked. It still, like, sometimes doesn't feel real, especially because, like, you know, I felt like I was working so hard and not seeing anything happen. But another thing I've been learning is, like, this really compounds. Like, it really does. I've, like, talked to other creators, like, within our group and stuff, who always say, too, that, like, in the beginning of their journey, like, they kept hitting a wall, and then all of a sudden, multiple things started happening at once. And it's because all their efforts compounded. So yeah, I mean, it felt amazing, and it still feels amazing every time. Like, I got that email, that reply today that was like, hey, you caught me at the perfect time. And I was so, like, thrilled. I also got another reply today, like asking if I could, for an AI tool that, like, builds websites, asking if I could send some concepts over and my rate card, and, you know, just furthering that conversation. And every time I get those, I feel like, okay, I am a creator. I'm a business owner now. I'm not just talking the talk, I am walking the walk. And the coolest part about this, I think actually we touched on it earlier, is that, like, when you reply to these emails, like, you're, like, just by doing that, you're becoming a better UGC creator, if that makes sense. Like, it all, I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah, it seems like the negotiation strategies and the communication and being able to adapt those skill sets of not just being a creator, but a business owner, like you said, is
Right.
huge for you.
Yeah. And, like, it's kind of also making me, like, excited that, okay, well, because I, like, crafted this email with all the points they wanted me to touch on and stuff, now I know how to do it next time it happens. And every little part of this journey, this business, becomes a little less like, how do I do this? How do I do the next step? As long as you keep, you know, taking that action, like, then you know what to do the next time. You know how to implement it. You know how to tweak it. You know what to do differently. And also, I'm just, like, talking through this out loud is really cool, because it's kind of reminding me all that I've done, because I don't really sit back and, like, I think digest that enough. So talking to you about it now is, like, really helping me realize, okay, I've done a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Even reminiscing, posting about it, posting your wins definitely can help to like understand. Like sometimes we go through that imposter syndrome, right? Where it's like, did I really do this? And like take a step back and reminiscing, journaling about it, writing about it can be super beneficial for it to set in. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
and for you, Miranda, what was like the biggest opportunity, the biggest paid brand deal that you've received so far over the past few months as a UGC creator?
So I am still, you know, I guess accepting pretty like beginner rates. I think I've been a little afraid to take that leap. I've done little things here and there. Like I recently negotiated for a little higher because someone wanted my raw footage, which was really cool because they accepted that. And so that was like a little win for me to be like, oh, well, okay, well, I know how to negotiate. But my highest offer so far and it was for 3 videos, was $450. So I'm looking at $150 per video. But it's funny how quickly you will start to feel confident about like, oh, I should be asking for more. Because I know I'm worth more. I know my time's worth more. And so that's where I'm at right now. But so my highest so far was $450. But also I do want to count this, even though it's only gifted, I am getting a $4,000 couch for free. And
Wow,
I am like blown away by that.
that's insane. The
Yeah.
best collabs or the furniture collabs? Because furniture is super expensive.
So expensive.
Worst case scenario, you can sell it, make money from it
Right?
too.
Right?
That's crazy. So with that being said, like that's $4,000
Yeah.
worth like a value in a collab. And you could sell that couch probably if you wanted to. So that's like $4,000 value. With everything else, like how much have you contracted so far? What are you kind of at with a monthly rate considering that you've had?
So again, this all these wins happened within like January to just I guess now.
About a month. Like,
Yeah. Not including the couch, I am sitting at like $1,850, which, might not be the hugest number, but it feels like I've come a very long way.
it's a huge number, especially for a creator that's been in business for 3 months. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And you're only going up from here, but you mentioned a $4,000 couch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then $2,000, almost $2,000 of brand deals. That's about $8,000 worth value in a month. And I think you've grown a ton from that. How does it make you feel about that? Because you were stuck at that restaurant job, and you said, the finances was a loop, and you had to stay there because of obviously the paychecks and everything, and you're kind of stuck. You mentioned, but now you're making what, $2K a month with UGC, with getting gifted things like couches, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel? Walk me through your brain and what you are feeling.
Girl, it's a maze up there. No, I will say it's really cool to be on this end of it, because I think about like versus the other end where I was seeing these posts about UGC, and like it's really cool to be on this end and be validated and, oh shit, this is totally doable. And this is like legit. This isn't one of those scams you see online. There are so many people out there who look at this and they're like, fake, that's not real. Can't do that. And I'm like a very stubborn person too. And so when I give myself a challenge, it's like, I have to see it through. And it's just really cool being on this end of it and like seeing it paid off. And there are times where I get down on myself about like, oh, I could be excelling faster, but like the worst thing you could do for yourself is compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to where you were personally before. That's it.
Wow, that's powerful. And it sounds like you have that mindset shift on your journey to be a successful UGC creator. On a personal level, how has UGC completely like shifted your personal life?
It's definitely made me feel like I've always felt like I'm pretty resilient and like a high achiever, but I'm a very type A person, but I've always been done really well academically, socially, like I was in all the clubs, like I've always felt like a high achiever, but I think I mentioned this earlier. I've always had like I feel like a blueprint, in front of me. And while we're like definitely given a lot of guidance and stuff and, invaluable information, starting UGC is very like you have to adapt a lot and pivot a lot. And it's kind of made me realize like, well, one, it made me at first think maybe I'm not as tough as I think I am, but I want to prove to myself I am. So it's definitely made me feel like, oh, I can start a freaking business. What? Like I kind of always saw myself as someone who was like a really good worker bee, I guess, to use like an analogy there. Like someone who, like, if I was given a task, I could get it done. And when you own a business, you're the one giving yourself tasks. And sometimes, especially in the beginning, you don't know what those tasks are. And so now that I'm starting to figure that out and I'm still learning, it's just proven to me like, oh, I can do this. Like this isn't as it's hard. It's really hard, but it's not as like scary. And I'm made of even more than I thought I was.
Sounds like you had a lot of transformation in the mind and mental transformation, which is leading to internal growth on the outside, which is wonderful because you're getting paid for it. So for you, like with making this income online, how has it even changed like your finances, your day-to-day life around finances, relationships, freedom even? What does your life look like now compared to when you were at the restaurant job?
Well, to be completely frank, I was making very good money there, but it wasn't, again, it wasn't like long-term growth. It was that instant validation and like on your feet for like 8 hours a day, easy work, but like I don't want to be serving drinks and cocktails and food the rest of my life. And so while like I don't have the same right now financial freedom, I know that I will and that it'll be tenfold than what I was doing. And that is like my North Star, if that makes sense. Like I know
Yeah,
it will
that's a
come.
beautiful way to say it. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to say it because you left that loop, right? A
Yeah.
loop that was keeping you stuck and trapped mentally, maybe even physically, to go break out, to work on yourself and your own development and find that freedom outside of, a cage where you
Yeah.
could expand and there's no cap to what you can make. And I think that's a beautiful mindset. You took that risk for yourself, but the risk wasn't as risky, maybe as it seemed.
Right. Like if I could, maybe put it in another term, like not exactly like in finances, but like mentally, I think I'm in a better place than I was. And that to me is like, not to be cheesy, but it's priceless.
Yeah. Do you feel like you found like fulfillment in this versus past jobs?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, especially if you're doing a job that, again, you don't see any upward movement in, and it's only a job that's kind of like sustaining your current lifestyle, but you don't want to move up in it. So this is like it's harder and it's really hard to get out of a comfortable situation. I think everyone knows that, but it's it's just so much more worth it. Like I think about the fact that like I might still be there right now and it makes me sad to think about. And I don't like I hate saying it like that because then I feel like it makes me sound like, I'm coming at it from like a superior like angle, but I just mean that like I could have stayed there another several years, I think, but I would not have been making any progress in my, work life, personal life. And so that for me is like, everything.
That's huge. And that's what a lot of people go through actually as well, where they're like not uncomfortable enough to change, but they're not comfortable enough to change as well, right? So they're kind of stuck in the middle, and sometimes having a low, something bad happening, or a high, good happening can shake them to make a change. But it seems like you kind of had that mindset where you're like, nah, screw it, I'm gonna do it anyway. And you moved to Colorado and you took that step for yourself because you knew you've been here for 2 years, you knew it was going to be another 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's a huge thing. Most people actually don't get out of that.
Right.
That's really interesting you brought that up. Also for you, Miranda, like what's next for you? What's next for your UGC business, and where do you see this going for yourself?
Yeah. So I want to start focusing a lot more of my effort on personal branding. I've just been seeing more and like the value in it more and more, because I think it'll not only like, again, just making content will help make my UGC videos better. So like one thing will feed the other, which is great. But you know, if done right, done well, and I feel like the only way I'm going to do it right is by doing it more, is to create more content for my personal brand. And then through that, discover what it is I really want to talk to people about, and start niching down. I definitely want to get into, I think, like creating more content around creative writing, reading, and books, because those are two things that like I can just yap all day long about. And I would like eventually for my UGC business to lead to like me growing my own writing community, specifically to creative writing. That's kind of long term, but yeah, so I want to start like focusing on my personal brand and maybe niching down, being a little bit more of like an expert on certain topics to sort of, you know, attract brands that I like really love to work with. And yeah, that's kind of where I want to focus all my energy on.
What's your next like milestone with UGC when it
I
comes to
I would like to by the end of March, hit 5K.
Wow, wonderful.
It's ambitious and it's lofty, but I think I can do it.
I think you can do it too with the amount of growth that you have, the resources that you have as well, with the systems and the grit around your personal brand. I think it's going to be pretty simple. Maybe simple, but not easy.
Yeah. It's a lot. That's actually a good point, is that like a lot of this is simpler than you think. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it's simple. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great way to put it. So I guess now like you've gone through this crazy journey of like being stuck for 3 months with UGC. And then now, like after you mentioned you discovered me and Coach David in the program, everything like that, you had this transformation. So how important was mentorship, if you were to just be honest, in this transformation to go from point A to point B?
Yeah.
So where are you now?
I think that like if you're coming at this from like no experience, just learning what UGC is, I think it's like absolutely crucial. I always loved school. I was really good at school. And so I am like, I 100% support teachers, coaches. Like I just think they're underpaid.
Yeah.
But like I just personally, it's important for me, but I also just think it's kind of important I think it's a necessary like step for everybody to have like the focus, again, especially if you're coming at this brand new, because it's really hard to know where to focus your energy in the beginning, and something like this will definitely help you hone in on that and also give you the community. The community has also been like the best part for sure. Like just getting to speak with other creators, whether that's like on the calls or like in your own WhatsApp chat or like on their socials, connecting with them on the social media. Like, you know, it's a cliche for a reason, but you're network is your net worth, and like getting to bounce ideas off of other creators or just like celebrate their wins with them and have them celebrate your wins. Like it's been, I think, a crucial component to like keep going, honestly.
Wow, that's powerful. I think that the average creator doesn't understand the next milestone, right? It's like going up a mountain, and when you're at the top of the mountain, you can see all of the other mountains right around it. When you're climbing up the mountain, you're only focused on that like one peak. And you have that different perception when you're on top of the mountain. Now you're like, oh my gosh, like I needed the help, because you got to a point where you were making money, right? And you're making an impact in your business. And that leads to the question of like how impactful for you and your business individually was having a mentor and having that community.
I think it was like everything, for sure.
Oh, wow.
I think I would have like definitely given up, for sure.
Oh.
There's like an accountability to it too, you know. And I know everyone's different, but for me, it's a big deal. You know, like I said earlier, I'm pretty stubborn and I like to prove myself wrong. But then like when I put it out there for others to like see whether they're like checking in and whatnot, like it's even more like you want to prove what you're made of, you know. And so it was a super, super important part for me.
Wow. Very inspiring. And would you recommend this path to like other creators?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, especially if you, are feeling like you're biting off more than you can chew. Because again, I think it's like super easy to get overwhelmed in the beginning on like where you should be focusing your efforts. Because if you're like me, again, you're going to want to do everything at once. And that's not realistic, which is cool because every coach in this whole thing has like their own, not niche, but their own thing that they're like an expert on, sort of, you know, and that they like, I think, talk like you with your mindset calls, and like Brian with his media maxing and viral videos, and like having, you know, those different like people who can help you figure out where to focus now or what to look at next, or like you said, what milestone to like put in front of you next, is like a good way to stay organized and you know, on the right track for you. Obviously everyone's is going to look different, but
100%. Yeah. And I'm glad it made such an impact on you and your business. And again, only going up from here, you have that milestone in front of you. Now that it, you know, 5K a month is your target, it's only a matter of time until you hit that with the resources, the help, and right, that mindset shift, that pure grit to be that business owner that hits their goals and does hard things, right? Puts themselves in uncomfortable positions to do that. So that's exactly what it is. And how impactful, I guess, how do you feel about the investment that you made about your education in general?
I mean, I feel good, you know. I think it's like, if it's something you really want, you can't really, I mean, obviously you can put a price on it, you know. I know people have bills to pay and things, you know, that have to come first, but I think I only really recently realized that like investing in something is a huge part of life. And like I've always been in like a saving mode, like afraid to take that step of investing. But I think that if it's something you truly want, like you gotta weigh what you want more, you know. And if you think that like the investment is gonna like significantly change your life, I think it's worth it every time.
Wow, that's very impactful. And then this whole call, you were just dropping gems about just a little mindset thing that you learned and went through. And I think that everyone has a different journey, but I feel like a lot of people kind of touch on the same beliefs and the same mindset shifts and the same things going around in their brain. I think you dropped a ton of value. And I know that a lot of people are watching this call and want to connect with you on social media and everything like that. So let everybody listening know how to connect with you on Instagram and what your Instagram is.
Yeah. So my Instagram, where I'm doing all things UGC, and all my content is UGC Miranda LC.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Miranda. Wonderful podcast. I know this is going to impact a lot of people out there. And yeah, thank you so much for hopping on. And yeah, you have a good day.
Awesome. Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye.